Okay, welcome to the Appellate Clinic for Self-Represented Litigants here at Public Counsel. My name is Zoe, and I thought I'd do a quick little video as an overview of AI safety for self-represented litigants. So first of all, a few important disclaimers. I'm not your lawyer. Our organization here, Public Counsel, is not your lawyer. AI is not your lawyer. So as we will be discussing throughout the video, please make sure that you check absolutely everything and verify it before filing anything with the court. Our goal here is to try to understand the AI safety issues that impact pretty much everyone now, but looking at it through the lens of using AI as a self-represented litigant. So first of all, just to sort of contextualize here, artificial intelligence, the way we understand it, is actually not really new. It goes back decades. There are all sorts of different types or branches or concentric circles, or however you want to think of it, of artificial intelligence. Large language models, which are the chatbots that we're getting used to, and um, other types of generative AI, like stuff called diffusion models. Maybe you've heard that term, maybe not. Those are sort of subsets of what's been around for, in many ways, a very long, long time, and what's been developing, over the course of several decades. So this is our agenda for this video. And I start and end with kind of the most important things that, when you're using AI, it's just like anything in life. You really want to think about it. And if it's important to you or your life or anything that matters, then we elevate our standards for usage and making sure that everything is correct and accurate and actually reflects facts and reality and the way things really are. So we have this acronym TACT: Think, Ask, Challenge, Test. And basically what that is just think about what you're going to ask before you ask the AI, if it's important. Formulate the question, challenge the answer, and then once you get an answer, test the answer. So the basics that we're going to talk about have to do with deciding how to select one of the different types of models that are currently available. Things are moving really fast, so models get updated sometimes on a monthly basis. Don't worry if the current models that you're seeing have already superseded the ones that we talk about in this video. That's probably going to happen. It's currently the end of October 2025, and if you see this video at some point in 2026, for example, there may have been 2 or 3 iterations already. Um, and then we'll talk about how to interact with the AI, stuff called prompt and context engineering. We will go into a little bit of stuff about tool use and these things called connectors, using multiple AIs. Let's call it AI peer review. That's to optimize and maximize your work. And then we'll briefly touch on some emerging technologies like agents, browsers, and devices. The agents are already pretty advanced. Okay, so just starting out here, let's imagine that I'm just going to, oh, I forgot to do a little intro. If you're interested in knowing more about the clinic, we were featured on, one of our community members was featured on NBC News. And I'm going to go fast through my picture because I don't like it. But there's a quote from me and a little bit of information about our clinic here at Public Counsel. We only work in California and here in Los Angeles specifically. All right. So, in terms of um, starting out with an AI, it's helpful to contextualize it in the Appellate Clinic's own library of resources and materials. We have other videos about this, so I won't go into it in too much detail, but basically we have the appellate process organized by chunk in order for what needs to sort of happen during the course of an appeal. For the purposes of this presentation, we'll be focusing on the opening brief stage, and we have a link here to a Word document that downloads to your browser. It's the template that we're going to be using. I'm just going to use the simplified one just for the purposes of today to show you the tools. Okay, so say we are at just sort of the opening stage. Now, I had the AI put together a mock record, uh, clerk's transcript, reporter's transcript, a pretend docket, and then a pretend statement of decision. Has to do with Goldilocks and the Three Bears, which correlates with the sample brief from the court that's also on our website. So it's a totally fictional thing, and the samples themselves are made up by the AI itself. We just chose something that we could use for this demo that has a potential legal issue. In real life, this would be kind of like a mess. There would be many, many pages in the both the clerk's transcript and the reporter's transcript. If there were multiple hearings, they would be, pretty unwieldy, maybe, lots of entries on the docket or whatever. We just have some very simple examples. So what I've said is to the AI, and I'm just going to get this started so that it can work while I'm reading it and giving you an example. But as you can see here, I'm adding stuff to the prompt. So the first thing that I've done is I selected the Canvas feature. It's this editing thing that ChatGPT has. Some of the other AI platforms have it as well. And then I have also uploaded the documents that I just told you about that are the mock record for this appeal demo. Now, I'm telling the AI we are practicing doing a demo for an AI class for self-represented litigants, and then, I've said, can you please draft the factual and procedural sections for a brief in this sample case? I've instructed the AI to include citations to the record. That's the made-up thing that I just told you about. And I said, you can think about potential issues, but just don't get into the legal argument yet. And then I said, make sure to include your citations to the record. Now, something interesting is happening that we want to talk about right here. It's doing all of these different things, okay? It's called thinking, so I guess it is thinking. And these are the thoughts that it's having over here on the right. This is the process that's going on. This is very important. This is sort of the first thing on the list that we wanted to talk about with intelligence types and tiers. And if you look up here on the left, it has, Chat GPT 5, right? And then there are these different tiers of cognition. The Pro one is kind of expensive, but these other ones are available with the free tier or with a $20 a month subscription. I don't sell these things. I don't necessarily advocate for one uh, platform over another. We'll talk briefly about Perplexity. I'm just using ChatGPT because that's kind of the most common among platforms these days. But I want to highlight this because a lot of people don't know. Um, the auto, it just decides on its own how to think. Instant, it's fast answers exactly what it sounds like thinking. It does extensive thinking. And so you want to make sure that you, for legal issues, that you're at least on thinking, whatever your platform is, you want to generally be cranking it up to the highest level of cognition for something like legal analysis. There's also this thing down here where you can do standard thinking or extended thinking. The pro tiers have even more. It can do heavy thinking, all these types of things. So the important point there is number one, you want to make sure that you're using a frontier model and that you're cranking up the cognition level. Okay. And then the second is we've, done this uh, Canvas feature, which if you click on edit, opens it up in here, which is kind of cool because you can, select stuff and then here, you can ask ChatGPT about it or whatever. It's a nice editing document. But in any event, we've also uploaded our sources, the record and stuff. And now, with our sample record and our sample statement of decision from the court and our sample docket sheet, the AI has, written just like we asked, a factual background and a procedural history. And with the editing feature, I'm just showing it to you. It may or may not be helpful because you can sort of, as I said, um, select stuff. If you click on Ask ChatGPT here, it will just automatically start responding here in the conversation window on the left. So it's much easier to, you don't have to have that chat interface. You can work with the document live on the screen. So here we have, factual background about our Goldilocks and the Three Bears story, and then a procedural history that reflects the made-up story, the made-up procedural history of the court that happened in the litigation. I'm going to close that and say, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next. I'm going to select web search this time. Go ahead and go. Okay. So now this is the second important point and we're moving now to prompt engineering, especially. Again, we have, the thinking going on, so we're using a thinking model. But now I want to do legal research. So I have to think a little bit more. This is the think, ask, challenge, test, and it's the think and ask part, right? So I said, can you please conduct some legal research for relevant case law and respond here in our chat? Okay, so I don't want it to use the Canvas tool anymore. I just want it to start doing research. And I say, do not do anything on the brief yet. And then I say, this is very important, restrict your search to findlaw.com to ensure accuracy and reliability, please. Okay. Whoops, I forgot to, let me actually, see. Normally, we tell people to make sure that they include California, but let's see. The AI figured it out. Good. Um, so it realized I gathered California authority. Okay. So that's really good. That's a nice, I'm glad we caught that actually. And it shows you how fast these things are moving. A couple of months ago, I had to remind people to tell the AI to search for only California, but it's already gotten smart enough to figure that out. But generally speaking, I'm going to leave this up here as it is for a second rather than go back to the previous version. But generally, what you want to do when you're doing when you're trying to surface cases for your own research, when you're doing a legal project, is you want to have a three-pronged approach in your prompt. Okay. The first is the legal issue. So the legal issues are the ones that the AI has already identified after reviewing the case materials that we provided it with. Okay. So the first thing is the legal issue. The second is a jurisdiction constraint. So you tell it where you are if it can't figure that out. Make sure that you do tell it that, even though I forgot to include it in the initial prompt. And the third thing is restrict your search to findlaw.com, which is a Thomson Reuters maintained legal database that has actual legal authority cases and statutes to ensure accuracy and reliability. So number one, issue. Number two, jurisdiction, California. Number three, constraint to findlaw.com only so that the AI doesn't just run rampant on the internet. Okay. All right. And then again, here we have on the right all of the thinking and the research that it's been doing. Okay, it's looking at damages for trespass, like discomfort and annoyance. Okay, so it sees a trespass issue for Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And this is the important thing, right? That it's looking at findlaw.com sources, which you can see there. And then, you know, here in our answer, we've got, okay, here are the potential legal sources that we can use. Okay, here are the potential issues that the AI thinks are relevant. Here is another one, and then here are, for every proposition of law or case citation, the AI will link to a case. You can click on that case and do two things. Number one, make sure that it's a real case, that it actually exists. And number two, make sure that it actually says and stands for what the AI thinks that it does. Okay. So again, this is a legal research tool. It's not your lawyer. I'm not your lawyer. Nobody is your lawyer if you're a self-represented litigant. You represent yourself. So the idea is, okay, how can these tools assist in surfacing and facilitating your legal research and the drafting process? Um, okay, so now I'm going to turn the Canvas one back on, and I'm going to say, um, okay, so I'm going to say go ahead and all right. Now let's just review what we've done. The first thing is we started out and we said, hey, here are the documents, the case docket sheet, printed it out from, say, the court's website or whatever, the statement of decision, the trial courts, the pretend trial courts, uh, ruling and opinion on the issues, and then the record, the clerk's transcript and the reporter's transcript. And I said, hey, can you get this into a factual and procedural history for background, and think about what the legal issues might be. Then I said, okay, now do some legal research. And, we did findlaw.com to ensure accuracy and reliability. And that should say to help ensure accuracy and reliability again. This is not 100%, so you have to check everything as we just did. And then third, we say, okay, can you go ahead and draft the legal argument section of the brief? Now, if you wanted, you could also include, for example, one of the templates that we use. And we'll do an example of that in a second. Let's see how it's doing. All right. Well, while it's doing that and polishing up the brief, we'll talk about context engineering. Um, so context engineering is exactly what it sounds like. If this is prompt engineering, this whole thing here is, oh, good, we have an answer. Great. This whole thing that we're giving it, all this stuff, is the context. So you want to start thinking, okay, we're moving beyond the binary prompt and response situation into engineering the actual context, which is more material and more information that is relevant to whatever it is that you're doing. All right. Now, in addition to that, everything that's in the conversation as a whole is part of the context. So as you go back and forth, you are building context. If at some point you realize, oh my gosh, this response and answer sucks, or it's not going to work for me, or I made a mistake, or I included incorrect information, or whatever, one of the nice tools that they just added is you can click on this. For some reason, it's not giving it to me. Let me see if this one does. Um, Oh, I'm not seeing it for some reason. Maybe it's just the pro subscription or whatever. But these three dots, sometimes you can click on them and branch out a new conversation at any point in the exchange. At any rate, if that doesn't happen, you can just go in and edit whatever your prompt is and change it halfway through. And you can do that on any prompt preceding it, so that if you did it on one halfway through, it would be like chopping the branch off a tree, and you would just continue there and lose everything that was beneath it. If you want to start over and sort of refresh your context window from that point onward. But in any event, here we are, and we now have an argument. And I could say, all right, I'm going to attach the opening brief template. React Canvas is reactivated, and say, thanks, please use this template for the overall format of the brief. Include the table of these. All right. So now I'm going to say, okay, put basically the whole thing that we've done into the final template, put it all together. Now, in real life, you would be sort of checking this each step of the way and going through it. We're just doing this for demo purposes, so I'm not going to go through everything and verify and check it to keep this video manageable. But overall, in terms of context, there's sort of a Goldilocks zone. The Goldilocks zone is the term for uh, outer space, the habitable zone for planets like where the Earth is, maybe out to Mars, maybe a little closer to the sun, where the planet is at a nice enough distance from its star that liquid water can survive on its surface, and it doesn't burn off because it's too close to the sun or freeze because it's too far. You can think of that if it's helpful for context engineering. There's a Goldilocks zone. If you continue going, at some point, there will be so much context that it's not really productive for the AI because there's too much going on. And so sometimes when that happens, you can just start, editing, cutting and pasting, using stuff, and pasting it into an entirely new window. And here we have, the AI doing its best to provide, looks like table of authorities it would require some editing in a Word document. Maybe not. Maybe that would cut and paste correctly. I don't know. You can cut and paste, copy it right up there on the right. There's a little icon. But anyway, here we have, basically an entire brief that we have put together, in the few minutes that we've been talking. Pretty cool, right? All right. So while it's finishing up, really we've already covered the next item on the agenda, which is the tool use. It's all this different stuff that we've been activating. Another important thing to start thinking about is, what are called connectors. Um, You can connect your Gmail, you can connect your Google Drive, you can connect more, you can connect GitHub maybe at some point, your OneDrive or stuff like that. I would be very judicious, very careful about what you do connect, because the AIs can be vulnerable. Right now, they're a little naive and they can be tricked. So if they visit a website, you don't want them divulging your personal information or anything like that. If you are working with your case documents, if they're publicly filed on a, Google Drive, or if you connect to your GitHub or something like that, and you sort of silo things away so that the AI can only get to what you want it to get to and not anything else, then that might be one approach. But I just wanted to flag that. Yeah, to be aware of. Okay, so now we're moving to the final point on optimizing and maximizing, which is AI peer review. So say I have this now, and what do I have? I have a whole context where this AI thinks that it's on a roll, and it's confident in what it's produced, and it's going to stand by it no matter what. And it's like a snowball. If it has an error in it, if it makes a mistake, it'll just roll down the mountain, gathering snow and getting bigger and bigger and bigger until the mistake becomes unfixable or something like that. So it's a lot like an important medical question. If you can afford a second opinion or even a third or a fourth, you go for it, right? And if we're, if the answer is free, we're going to copy that. We're going to open an entirely new, fresh conversation with zero context window, and we're going to say, something like, "Can you please check all?" You know. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut and paste the entire brief in there and then see what it says. Oh, actually, I did not manage to cut the whole. Hold on a minute. I did not cut and paste the whole brief in there. Oh, good. I can do another example. I'm going to stop the AI, and then I'm going to edit. I made a mistake on the prompt. So I'm going to take out the little thing that I accidentally copied and pasted, and I'm going to put in the entire brief. There we go. It's giving me the option to use this. No, I don't want to do that. So now I'm saying, can you please check this? You can figure out what your prompt is. If you have a specific part of the brief that you want to check, you can just say, can you check this part? But the point is that you're starting a new conversation with entirely fresh AI that is then going to do all of the thinking that we did, but it's going to do it fresh, right? There are a bunch of other AIs. Perplexity is one of them. Just copy this prompt. Perplexity is kind of interesting because it has a bunch of different models. You may have heard of Anthropic, that's Claude. Gemini Pro, that's Google DeepMind, GPT-5, that's OpenAI that we were just using, Grok 4, that is XAI or Twitter. And we can sort of, for the AI peer review, we can do kind of the same thing. This is kind of a sloppy prompt, frankly. Don't use this, use a better one. And it's also got different levels of thinking that are available if you subscribe, whatever. And um, you know, uh, Perplexity will do its search and respond. Um, it's This is important to notice because it's not active. I don't have a subscription on this laptop for Perplexity, so it's not thinking quite as long. That's exactly what you want to be cognizant of and thinking about. Here we can see an extended thinking from uh, ChatGPT. So that's the type of indication that we want to probably favor in terms of trying to ensure accuracy and reliability. Generally speaking, the longer it thinks, the more confidence you can have in its output. But in any event, what I wanted to show you is there are not just different conversations within the same platform, but there are multiple platforms that you can use for AI peer review. All right, just quickly, uh, there's also this feature, agent mode, on ChatGPT, and this is sort of, what's going on with the agent mode. Um, In addition to just having a chat interface, the AI can actually take control of the computer by setting up its own desktop and carrying out tasks. So here it's like doing some sort of shopping or let's see. Uh, oh no, we don't want to see an advertisement. No, 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 no. It's taking control of the computer and doing all these different types of things. So it's engaging its various tools, it's doing internet searches, it's creating files and doing all sorts of things. It created an Excel spreadsheet and then it created a map for a travel plan and stuff like that. So the point is that we didn't talk about it today, but agent mode does exist. Be careful with it because it does give the AI certain autonomy to go do things. And again, if there's prompt injection that's adversarial, it might make a bad decision and do the wrong thing or make a mistake that could have real life consequences. Um, Sort of the last emerging. And OpenAI also released a browser tool so that the sort of what it's doing right now becomes native to the browser to replace um, for example, we use Chrome as a browser now. If you've never I've been personally using Perplexity's Comet for a few months. If you've never done it, it's can be kind of startling because it remembers your browsing history and it gets to know you and it'll suggest things and it's eerily, uh, eerily human in that respect. But it can, do a lot of this browsing sort of alongside you, and you can even talk to it and have conversations and summarize web pages or give the AI control of the browser, and it does things. The other thing to be aware of is we already have wearables, right? But they're going to be powered by the level of intelligence that we've been working with here. Oh, we have a response from ChatGPT on the editing and stuff. Um, uh, we have an opinion overall, this is a strong compliant template. Okay. So forth. And then we have some specific comments and some substantive edits. So that's the AI peer review. So anyway, all of this, this type of thinking and this type of cognition, look, I'm just scrolling through it on the right. Pretty soon that's going to be talking into your ear and seeing what you're seeing. And we're just going to be sort of walking around dealing with this situation. All right. Um, Closing up here, I just wanted to uh, talk a little bit about more advanced usage. This is important. You can personalize most AIs at this point. Perplexity, ChatGPT. Um, I'm not sure about the others. And customization is a toggle. And you can give the AI custom instructions. You can tell it about you, and what you're doing. And then importantly, you can reference saved message memories, or you can reference the chat history, or not. Okay. Now, say for example, this is, I say I'm working at a clinic for self-represented litigants. If you were to have in a primarily for your legal research purposes, you could put that in here. I'm a self-represented litigant, and I'm working on this brief, and you can give the custom instructions. For example, if you do search for legal research, restrict all your searches to findlaw.com. You can put all that, in here just to double up. It doesn't necessarily hurt. Of course, if you use it for personal reasons, those instructions will carry over. Maybe you want to, for now until you can have multiple versions, just, copy and delete. And again, in terms of AI peer review, because they're just like us, they can start developing biases if they've been dealing with the same material for long enough. You can always just turn everything off and then start a new conversation and do an entirely new review, right? Just like we did before, but everything is blank. Um, and that's how you can sort of go in, get a fresh take on things, get a second opinion, get a third opinion, get a fourth or a tenth. um, and that is it for our presentation. Please remember to always think, ask, challenge, and test. And if you're here in Los Angeles and eligible for an appointment, please hit us up. And we would be happy to entertain the request if you are eligible. Thank you.